All right, we are on to chapter 29. They found an apartment. They're excited to be out of the car, but Jackson's not telling anyone about his homelessness. Chapter 29. Crenshaw and I didn't chat much during those weeks on the road. There was always someone around to interrupt us, but that's okay. I knew he was there, and that was enough. Sometimes that's all you really need from a friend. When you think about that time, what I remember most of all is Crenshaw riding on top of our minivan. I'd stared out the window at the world blurred past, and every so often I'd catch a glimpse of his tail riding the wind like the end of a kite. I'd feel hopeful then, for a while at least, that things were getting better, that maybe, just maybe, anything was possible. Chapter 3. I guess for most kids, imaginary friends just sort of fade away the way dreams do. I've asked people when their imaginary friends stopped hanging around, and they never seem to remember. Everybody said the same thing. I guess I just outgrew him. But I lost Crenshaw all of a sudden, after things got back to normal. It was like when you have a favorite t-shirt that you've worn forever. One day you put it on and surprise, your belly button is showing. You don't remember growing too big for your shirts, but sure enough, there's your belly button sticking out for the whole wide world to see. The day he left, Crenshaw walked to school with me. We did that most mornings unless he wanted to stay home and watch Blue's Clues reruns. We stopped at the playground. I was telling him about how I really wanted to get a real cat someday. That was before I found out my parents were extremely allergic to cats. Crenshaw stood on his head, then he did a cartwheel. He was an excellent cartwheeler. When he came to a stop, he gave me a grumpy look. "I'm a cat," he said. "I know," I said. "I'm a real cat." His tail whipped up and down. I said, "You know, a cat other people can see." He batted a paw at a yellow butterfly. I could tell he was ignoring me. A bunch of big guys, 4th and 5th graders, walked by. They pointed at me and laughed, making cuckoo circles with their fingers. "Who you talking to, doofus?" one asked, and then he snort-laughed. That is my least favorite kind of laughing. I pretend to not hear him. I knelt down and tied my shoe like it was a very important thing I had to do. My face was hot, my eyes were wet. I'd never been embarrassed about having an imaginary friend until that very moment. I waited. The boys moved on. Then I heard someone else approaching. She wasn't walking, more like skip dancing. "Hey, I'm Marisol," said the girl. I'd seen her at recess before. She had long, dark, crazy hair and an unusually large smile. "I have a Tyrannosaurus backpack just like yours. I'm going to be a paleontologist when I grow up, which means..." "I know what it means," I said. "I want to be one too. Or maybe a bat scientist." Her smile got even bigger. "I'm Jackson," I said, and I stood. When I looked around me, I realized that Crenshaw had vanished. Chapter 31. I've sometimes wondered if I was kind of old to have an imaginary friend. Crenshaw didn't even show up in my life until the end of 1st grade. So one day at the library, I looked it up. Turns out somebody did a study on children and their imaginary friends. Fact is, 31% of them had an imaginary friend at the age of 6 or 7. Even more than 3- and 4-year-olds. Didn't know that. Maybe I wasn't so old after all. In any case, Crenshaw had excellent timing. He came into my life when I needed him to. It was a good time to have a friend, even if he was imaginary. So if we go back a little bit, remember Jackson was saying to Crenshaw, like, "How do I get you to leave?" And Crenshaw's like, "You need to tell the truth." And he's like, "Well, that's easy." And so, like, Crenshaw doesn't get to choose when to leave. So here, Jackson was saying Crenshaw came into his life at a good time when he did need a friend. When they were homeless, it was someone there to talk to. It was a friend, it was something that could fill that missing piece. Part 3. The world is so you have something to stand on. Chapter 32. It occurred to me that Crenshaw's return, the night of the kitty bubble bath, as I came to think of it, might be a sign that I was right about my parents. It was coming again. The moving, the craziness, maybe even the homelessness. Oh, the last time that they were homeless, that's when Crenshaw appeared. And so now they're preparing to possibly be homeless again, and Crenshaw has appeared again. So maybe it's not so much he needs a friend, but he needs someone during this uncertain time. Could be. I told myself I'd just have to face the facts and make the best of it. It wouldn't be the first time we'd hit a tough spot. Still in all, I'd been hoping to get Mrs. Leach for 5th grade. Everybody said she liked to explode stuff for science experiments. And Marisol and I had our dog walking business that was going pretty well. And I'd been looking forward to trying out the new skate park when they got it built in January. And maybe even doing rec soccer if we would come up with the money for a uniform. It would be easier for Robin. You could move her anywhere and she'd be fine. She made friends in an instant. She didn't have to worry about real stuff. She was still a kid. Jackson, you're still a kid too. You're in 5th grade. I lay on my mattress as the list of things I was going to miss kept getting longer. I told my brain to take a time out. Sometimes that actually works. Not so much this round. Last year, my principal told me I was an old soul. I asked what that meant, and he said I seemed wise beyond my years. He said it was a compliment, that he liked the way I was always knew when somebody needed help with fractions, or the way I emptied the pencil sharpener without being asked. That's the way I am at home too, most of the time anyway. Sometimes I feel like the most grown-up one in the house, which is why it seems like my parents should have known they could talk to me about grown-up stuff. That's why in our house, we tell people that Bennett has 3 parents, me, Mr. Avey, and Tyler. Tyler, he does a lot of being like, no, Bennett, that's not nice. Use nice hands, Bennett. Bennett, don't eat the chalk. He does a lot of that kind of stuff. Even though Tyler's 5, he kind of acts like he's a parent. And why it seems like they should tell me the truth about moving. Last fall, a big raccoon got into our apartment through an open window. It was 2 in the morning. Aretha barked like a maniac, and we all ran to see what was going on. The raccoon was in the kitchen examining a piece of Aretha's dog chew. He held it in his little hands proudly, like he'd discovered a big brown diamond. He was not even a tiny bit afraid of us. He nibbled his diamond carefully. He seemed glad we'd join him for dinner. Aretha leaped onto the couch. She was barking so loud I thought my ears were going to fall off. Robin ran to get her baby buggy in case the raccoon wanted to go for a ride. My mom called 911 to report a home invasion. And my dad, who was the only one who only had on his sock monkey pajama bottoms, turned on his electric guitar and made this ear-splitting screech sound to try to scare off the raccoon. Don't you dare go near that animal, my mom warned Robin. She pointed to her cell phone and shush. Yes, officer, yes, 68 Quiet Moon, apartment 132. No, he's not attacking anyone. He's eating the dog food. Dog chow, actually. Not the wet kind. Kids, stay away. He could be rabid. He's not a rabbit, Mommy, Robin said as she wheeled her baby buggy in circles. around the living room. I'm sure he's a beaver. For a while, I just watched all of them go crazy. It was kind of entertaining. Finally, I whistled. I have a really good whistle for a kid. I used my pinky fingers. Have you seen people where they go like this? I can't do it. I'm not good at that. So yeah. Everyone stopped and stared, even the raccoon. Guys, just sit on the couch, and I've got this, I said. I walked to the front door and opened it. That's all I did, just opened it. Fog drifted, frogs chatted. The waiting world was calm. Everyone sat on the couch. I kept Aretha quiet with her squirrel chew toy. It was covered with dog slobber. We watched the raccoon finish his food. When he was done, he waddled past us like he owned the place and headed for the open door. He glanced over his shoulder before he left. I could almost hear him muttering, "Next time I go to a different place. This family is nuts." Lately, I felt like I always had to be on alert for the next coon invasion. Chapter 33. Saturday morning. Oh, sorry. Here's Crenshaw. There. Saturday morning, I woke up, went to the living room, and found a big empty spot where our TV had been. The room looked naked without it. My dad was making breakfast, pancakes and bacon. We hadn't had pancakes and bacon in a really long time. Robin was sitting at the kitchen table. Aretha was drooling, and Robin's chin was gooey with syrup. Daddy made pancakes shaped like ours for Robin. Do you have a letter preference? My dad asked me. He used his cane, which meant he wasn't feeling great. You okay? I asked. The cane? He shrugged. Just a little insurance policy. I hugged him. Plain old circle pancakes would be great, I said. Where's Mom? Picked up an extra shift at Toast. Dad sold the TV to Maricel, Robin said. She jutted out her lower lip to make sure we knew she wasn't happy about it. Maricel? I repeated. I saw her dad while I was taking the trash out, my dad said as he poured perfect circles of batter into the pan. We were talking about the game the other day and how his TV had conked out, and one thing led to another. He had the cash, I had the TV, and the rest is history. But how are you going to watch the game? I asked. We're going to Best Buy it. I grabbed a strip of bacon. What's that mean? My dad adjusted the heat on the stove. You'll see. Where there's a will, there's a way. Aretha likes watching Curious George, said Robin. She set down her plate and Aretha licked it clean. You may be interested to hear that Curious George began his existence as a character in a book, said my dad as he flipped a pancake. In any case, this family needs to spend more quality time together. You know, playing games, or maybe Monopoly. I like Chutes and Ladders, said Robin. Me too, my dad tossed a little chunk of bacon to Aretha. Too much TV rots your brain. You love TV, I said while I started loading the dishwasher. That's because TV already rotted it. There's still hope for you two. It didn't take long for my breakfast to be ready. Nice work on the pancakes, I said. Thanks, I do have a certain flair. My dad pointed his spatula at me. I saw Maricel with Carlos and when Carlos and I were carrying the TV. She said to remind you about the Goochers Dachshunds. Yeah, we're walking them tomorrow. The Dachshunds wiener dogs? Robin asked. Yes, ma'am, my dad nodded. You know, Jax, I haven't seen much of Darwin or Ryan or anybody else lately. What's up with that? I don't know. Darwin and Ryan are doing summer camp. Everybody else does important stuff in the summer, too. My dad put some dishes in the sink. His back was turned to me. I'm really sorry about some soccer camp, Jax. We just couldn't swing it. No biggie, I said quickly. I'm kind of growing out of soccer. Yeah, my dad said softly. That happens. I stared at the sweet steam spinning up from my pancakes. I tried hard not to think about Maricel watching our TV, feeling sorry for us while we played Chutes and Ladders and ate bran cereal out of a T-ball cap. Then I tried to not be annoyed at myself for worrying about something so unimportant. I grabbed my fork and knife and sliced out my pancakes. Whoa, said my dad. Easy up, Zorro. I looked up confused. Who's Zorro? Masked guy, good with swords, my dad said, pointing to my plate. You were getting a little carried away with the slice and dice action. I looked down at my pancakes. It was true. I destroyed them pretty well, but that wasn't what that got my attention. In the middle of the plate, surrounded by maple syrup mush, were slices of pancake, neatly forming 8 letters. CRENSHAW. Maybe it was my imagination, maybe not. In any case, I scarfed them down before anybody could notice.